Well, hi, everybody. My name's Tom Wheatley. So could you put us on the first slide, please? Because that's me too. Yeah, cool. So I spent 30 years in corporate America, and I was a lifelong hunter. And while I liked hunting, I loved butchering. And so somewhere along the way, I decided that I wanted to raise and butcher pigs. I can't really tell you why I wanted to, but I really did want to. And so as retirement started getting closer, my wife, Robin, that's her, and I looked for property in the area. So we lived in Mapleton for a whole bunch of years, 25-ish, yeah. And so something in the area, we have kids in the area, and so we're really just literally down the hill. We're just there. And I really started building pig pens before we were building our house, and because I was going to raise and butcher pigs. Then I built a butcher shop because I was going to raise and butcher pigs. But then it occurred to me, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I needed to go get some education for myself in terms of learning how to not only be a farmer, which I consider myself a farmer now, but also a butcher. And so I've gone out and sought that education. And then I thought, gosh, this education's it was really hard to find people to learn from. And so I read a book written by a lady. The book is, I think, an interesting read. It's called Killing It, written by a lady named Camus Davis, who, like me, was kind of not happy with the current situation involved, or how meat was raised and presented to us in the grocery store, and what was available. And it was about kind of animal welfare and quality of meat and that kind of stuff. And her journey, and then she got done with her journey and started the Portland Meat Collective in Portland, and offers that says, hey, if you want to start a meat collective of your own, I'll help you for a small donation to her one foundation or another. So Camus and I became acquainted. I started the Utah Meat Collective. It's my own thing. You know, we and actually by now the Portland Meat Collective, she's gone on to other projects. So it's a perfect fit for me, but it's not a perfect fit for somebody that really wants to earn a living doing it. And so it works out great for me to do it. So I started the Utah Meat Collective really in 2019 is kind of when I was gearing up, and then 2020 was my first real full year. And I offer both public and private classes. And when I say public, that means I decide the topic, and I put it on my website, and I send an email out to say, hey, this is the class and this is when it is. And a private class is somebody calls me and says, hey, I'd sure like to learn how to process chickens, and I have some chickens that are starting to limp. Can we figure out a time to do that? And that's yes. So what I'm going to be talking about today is what I do, just kind of what the Utah Meat Collective is. Why I do it. I've already touched a little bit on my why. Why does it matter? And everybody's why is going to be different, I think. At least that's what I've noticed. People come to me to get meat education for a lot of different reasons, and I'm pretty indifferent in terms of their why. It's just, if you want to learn stuff, and I'm adept at teaching that, we'll figure it out. And then what can you do? So. The thing that I offer that I think is most useful or valuable is on-farm slaughter. Very oftentimes, folks that want to process meat, or for those of us who eat meat. And so this, I'll back up a little bit. This discussion is for those of us who choose to eat meat. If that's not in your wheelhouse, awesome. That's not, I choose to eat meat. So for those of us that choose to eat meat, it all started alive. It was all an animal at one point, and somebody killed it. And that's a big step for a lot of folks, is taking the life of an animal for the very first time. And I've helped folks through that a lot of times. Very oftentimes it's with chicken. Sometimes it's with pigs, sometimes it's with sheep. But taking the life of an animal that you're eventually going to process and consume, for a lot of people, is a big emotional experience. I'm a hunter. I've hunted my whole life. It is somehow different to shoot something at 200 or 300 yards with a gun than it is to be right there next to a chicken that you're going to kill and process for your family. It hits me different, and it hits different for the folks that come to me. So I think understanding and knowing and thinking about the sacrifice that the animals made is useful. I do this all the time. I taught a class today, a whole hog butchering class, to a couple guys. I don't think every day when I eat meat about the fact that that was a living, breathing animal at one point. And I should think about that and be grateful and thankful for that animal's life and the sacrifice that it made. So that's a big thing of what I think that is a valuable thing that I teach on the farm. So pigs, either raised by me or brought in. I do a lot of stuff with poultry. I'll raise chickens, meat birds, that I'll offer as classes. So if folks show up for classes, we go out, we grab a chicken out of a little chicken tractor that I've got out of part of my pasture. We take it over and we start from the very beginning and go all the way through to that chicken is ready to take home and put in your fridge, freezer, or it's not quite ready to put in your oven, but that stuff we cover in the class. But it's clean and ready. I mean, it looks like it came from a store. I mean, it's ready to go. Rabbits, I don't raise rabbits, but on occasion, folks that raise rabbits want to learn how to process them for meat. And so I've taught rabbit classes. I don't raise quail, but on occasion, they are an option to chickens for both meat and eggs. I've taught quail or do that. I don't do much with beef. We are a beef culture. We love our beef, but beef are gigantic, and just how my setup works, I can't handle them. They're just too big to manage. I actually raise a few beef at my place, and I raise small beef. I raise a breed called Dexter because they're on the edge of my max. I mean, I'm guessing within 5 years I may be out of the beef business just because I can't carry them, because I got to be able to move them around to effectively butcher them. So meat crafting, what does that mean? Whole hog butchering. Hogs is how I started. Hogs is going to continue to be my thing. Hog is kind of my spirit animal when it comes to butchering, and as much as I can learn about pigs, I want to learn. And as much as I want to learn about pigs, I want to teach. And that was, we talk about the trip to France. That was really there, mostly about the pig. And charcuterie is a kind of some more refined skills around preserving meat. Salami is a charcuterie item. Summer sausage could be considered that. Prosciutto is that. Capicola is that. Liverwurst is that. So the field of charcuterie is pretty wide and broad. Some aspects of it, or a bunch of aspects of it, I feel I do classes on. Whole lamb and goat butchering. Start with a live animal. Kill it at my farm. Skin it. Take the parts out of it that go to the waste. Heart, liver. Harvest those parts that folks want to, and then end up breaking it down. A day or two or a week or so later. So I have a cooler at my shop and in my butcher shop. I teach elements of butchering. So an element of butchering would be making bacon or making sausage. So it's saying, well, why don't I want to buy bacon? Well, you can, but there may be better ways to do it. I like the bacon that I make. I've spent a lot of time studying and making and understanding how bacon's made. And so some of my bacon classes are fairly popular. I teach a lot. UUVU, continuing education, I did a bacon class with them on the winter semester. In the spring semester, I'm doing a sausage class, and then in the fall semester, I'm doing a charcuterie class through UVU Continuing Ed. Yeah.
Can you remind everybody that they can actually ask you questions if they have?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I will remind everybody. Ask me questions. Yes, young man.
If we were to bring you a chicken or a turkey,
Yeah.
can you take care of it for us so we can walk away with the completed product? Or do we have to do the butchering ourselves?
So you have to do it with me.
I can do it with you, I just can't leave it with you?
Good try, Ken.
No, I get that. I get the question. I understand it. And I've just decided I butcher with people, not for them. And it's part of, it's just foundational for me.
Teaching you how to fish.
Does it cost less that way then?
Nope. No, because it'll take me more time.
What?
It'll and again, I'm not picking on you, but I could do it a lot faster alone than I could working with you.
That's why it's so convenient.
Yeah.
You to do it.
Yeah, I understand. It is not my thing. It may be somebody else's thing. I don't know whose thing it is, or I would tell you. So there's lots of options for four-footed animals. I can direct you for pigs and sheep and goats and all that kind of stuff. There's options out there to have folks do that work for you. For poultry, there's no licensed facility in the state of Utah that can legally do it. And so I would have a regulatory problem to do it that way, but that's not why I don't do it. I don't do it because it's just not what I do.
So it's really, I'm doing it for my personal self, and you're assisting.
Yep.
It's like assisted suicide.
Yeah. Well,
Teach you so the next time you can do it without it.
yeah. So I appreciate the question, and I do get that question a lot. So that would fall under the category of what's called custom processing, and I just don't do custom processing. And I butcher with people, not for people. Because my goal really is, I'm going to back up a little bit. I think this will help frame the answer to my question a little bit more. Is as I was getting into this, I started to get overwhelmed because the problem, in my view, as I look at our meat supply and our meat industry, and we experienced it through COVID. We saw that the meat supply system got disrupted. And it got disrupted because it's highly consolidated, and there's reasons it's highly consolidated. And I'm a business guy, and the reason is it's economic. It's cheaper to do it that way. So I get it. I understand it. But the problem's pretty big because a lot of folks don't have these skills, and so I was having conversations with folks as I was trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do with this thing, and it was, Tom, you don't need to change the world. You just got to change one person. So my goal is to change one person again and again and again and again. So that's why I do what I do. That's foundational. So case sausage, making a good sausage, there's a real craft to it. It's not just dumping a bunch of stuff together and trying to stuff it into a casing. There's like 5 tricks that if you don't know those tricks, you're gonna have a bad time. And I know the tricks, and I try to share those tricks with you in classes. And then we've talked a little bit about charcuterie, so we can move on. Okay, so these are all pictures of my livestock. So chickens that I've raised, the Dexter beef. And I don't know if they look big in that picture or not, but they're not. They're not very big. I think their head's probably that tall. Their hanging weight, which is hanging weight for animal, is ready for butchery. So killed, skinned, eviscerated, feet cut off, head cut off. I mean, it's ready to go onto the block and be butchered. For those animals is between 450 and 500 pounds. That sounds like a lot, but it's really not in terms of beef goes. A really big cow can be 1,000 pounds hanging weight. An Angus, sort of beef, a beef that we typically see at the grocery store. So they're half size. And then these are last year's pigs, I think. But I always raise the same breed. I'm a big fan of those. Go ahead.
So I'm just going to ask you what breed.
Yeah, the breed I like is Berkshire. The breed that other people like is the breed other people like. Robin keeps bees Robin's my wife. Hi, Robin. She coined the phrase one time. She goes, if you ask 3 beekeepers their opinion, you'll get 5 different answers. that's kind of the way it is with breeds on pigs. I've butchered on almost every domesticated pig and a few wild pigs. I continue to be reinforced for what I value in terms of meat quality and enough fat to do good stuff with. But I would think if there was somebody here that liked Mangalitsa or another breed of pig, they would be equally as passionate as I am about Berkshires and have their good reasons as to why they like those. So, good question. I like Berks. They're my pig of choice. So, anyway, next. So, farm slaughter pork. And on my website is one of the very first things I say is transparent meat education. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to be transparent. This is what it looks like when we're killing a pig. And it's sometimes a little hard and tough. The reason that the pig's head is valuable is because there's meat in there. And right after I took that picture, I'm cutting its jowls out and I'm making either bacon or guanciale with it. And I'm rolling it over and I'm taking the tongue out and I'm using the tongue and I'm cooking the tongue for either tacos or putting it in head cheese. So it's about utilizing, with the pig, you can utilize everything except the squeal. And I do my best to kind of teach those skills. And it's rough. There are times, I mean, some of these pigs I've lived with. I mean, I've got pigs that I've got 5 pigs, just went out and saw them. They're about this big. I will sometimes take a chair out and go watch my pigs because I just think they're so cute. And at the same time, I cannot wait to butcher them. And it's very weird.
You don't name them, do you?
Yeah, I do. Every one of them is named Kevin. Yep, since the beginning of time. So I don't know if this is my 6th or 7th batch of Kevins, but they're all Kevin, and whether they're girls, if they're girls, they're Kevin. If they're boys, they're Kevin. And so yeah, they're all Kevin. So
what did Kevin do to you?
yeah, you know, he has nourished me in more ways. He or she has nourished me in lots of ways. So yeah.
So you could certainly use 5 pigs a year yourself. Do you butcher them and give some to your family? Or?
Yeah, that is a great question. So we keep one as a family pig, and that's for us, for our use and for our kids and their families. I do one pig, I'll kill one pig at undersized, and so I'll do charcuterie with that pig. So one of the things I make is prosciutto. It takes 2 years to make a prosciutto. And so I have a little line of prosciuttos in my meat shop. And the reason I kill the pig a little early is because I don't need a hind leg of a full-size pig is 35 pounds-ish or 40. I don't need a 35-pound prosciutto. I need 18-pound prosciutto maybe. And so that when the pig gets to charcuterie size, then it becomes kind of a specialty cut sort of pig for me. 2 of them I'll put into what I call the whole hog program, which is I'll market and advertise at some point in the future during the summer and say, come work with me on every single step. And so it's the whole hog. We kill the pig together, we skin the pig together, we eviscerate the pig together, we make bacon together, we make pork chops together, we make charcuterie together, we do it all. It is a big commitment on whoever does it with me's part. Obviously a bigger commitment on Kevin's part. But again, I think it's valuable, and so at least 2 of them are going to be into that program. That's probably 15 or 20 hours commitment. Over a 2-week period, and we negotiate. And when I say it's a commitment, it's expensive because it takes. I mean, the pigs I raise are expensive. It takes a lot of my time, and I'm not free. And the commitment is that we have to be able to count on one another. Because once a pig dies, we really have about 2 weeks to kind of pretty well have that pig in the freezer ready, kind of wrapped up. Now there's things we can do to extend that period of time if there's unforeseen circumstances, but we set a schedule and we have to stick with it. And so it's you know, those folks exist. I find them and we go through it, and I build my time around we both have to build our schedule around that. Visitation is allowed, and visitation is allowed whether you're a customer or not. You're welcome to come see the baby pigs. My address is on the first screen. This is going to be public. My phone number's on there. It will ring here. Just call me. If you have meat questions, call me. But anyway, so that's the pig stuff. Let's move along. Beef slaughter. Because beef are so big, I have a mobile slaughter unit. Comes out of Heber City. I've become good friends with these guys. We do a slaughter workshop where people come and we'll kill one of our cows right there in the pasture and split it. Talk to the slaughtermen. These guys are professional. This is what they do for a living. Professional slaughtermen and butchers. But Heber Valley Meat is who I use for that. This is a picture of my walk-in cooler with a beef in the back, and then that's a pig, to give you an idea. And this walk-in cooler is in the basement of the house that was on the property when we bought it. So that's why beef are hard for me, because I got to pick up that piece and carry it down some stairs and into this cooler. So they can't be super monstrous. Anyway, and we like beef. We eat plenty of beef.
They always hang it in halves if we quarter it.
So that is quartered.
That is quartered.
Yeah.
Even
And,
on these little guys.
yeah. So the pig's in half, and that's manageable. The beef is in quarter. This front quarter weighs probably 160 pounds. And that's my max to be able to manage it. And particularly, boy, there's so much information to share. When an animal is freshly killed, it's called a hot beef or hot carcass, and it's loose, and it's not, because as it chills, then the fat firms up, and then it's easier to manage. It's like picking up a rock versus picking up a piece of jelly. So they're hard to manage. Any bigger than that, I'm out. I just can't do it.
So how do you kill them? Just briefly.
Yeah, the beef, the beef.
The beef or whatever.
Okay, well, okay, the beef. It's how we do it. It would be a 22 Magnum rifle, and it's in the forehead, and that is technically called the stun, although the animal is rendered senseless and is likely dead. But the animal actually dies through exsanguination. So the immediate thing after the stun is to cut their carotid artery in their throat, and they die, they bleed out. We want the blood to exit the body. The blood's a contaminant, and we talk a lot about this with chickens, that the heart actually has a separate electrical system, so it's not relying on the brain activity to pump. So it will pump for a good long time after the animal has succumbed. And anyway, but it's a pretty big moment. So thank you for asking that question. Yeah.
When you slaughter an animal, do you let the other animals watch?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it might spook them.
Yeah, surprisingly it does not. And it's something that I've had to kind of come to terms with, in that, we humanize it because we think how we think, but animals, in my observation, and these are my experiences and my observations. I don't want to say that this is absolutely how it is. I'm just saying this is what my experience is. The animals are indifferent. And so, if I were to go out, if I've got pigs that are ready to slaughter, I kill a pig, pigs organize themselves. The group of pigs is called a sounder, and they organize themselves in a hierarchy. There's a lead pig, and you'll eventually I will figure out, in watching my pigs, who's the lead pig. It is best practice to kill the lead pig if that's the pig that's harvest ready. And usually it is, because it's usually the one that's biggest. They reorganize themselves. They're most interested in who's the leader now and organizing themselves, and they show a curiosity as to what's going on. We think of death and the absence of each other in a different way than animals, but I don't know that. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. I'm just telling you what my observation is, that I see
Does it
curiosity.
affect them
Nope.
too much if they watch their
Nope,
buddy get killed right there?
nope. No, it doesn't.
Well, it would affect me.
Well, of course, yeah, it would. How do you say that word? Anthropomorphize? Anthropomorphize? It's how we put human emotion onto animals, and it's a studied thing. And you know, we do. And I can just tell you my experience. I've killed lots of things. I mean, I'm not bragging. It's what I do. I've killed lots of animals, and I've just not noticed any reaction to it. So that's my experience.
Do you
Okay.
use blood at all? Do you make blood sausage or anything like that?
So I have. It is difficult. It's a salvageable item from pigs. The problem with it is how I raise my pigs is I raise them on dirt. And so they have a really big area that they raise, or that they root in and mud and wallow and that kind of stuff. So they're not clean. And so I would need to pull that pig into a different. I'd have to create a different area, a clean facility with concrete, and I'd have to wash that pig before I did anything and scrub it down. Because to harvest the blood, it's ample, but it's gonna be contaminated just from feces and mud and that kind of stuff.
I just
Yeah.
thought you just went to France. They
Yeah.
have blood sausage all the time.
Yeah, and you know, it is definitely a thing. You can't buy blood here, but you can buy lots of things in France that you just can't buy here, which that was one of the things that kind of bummed me out. You could go to a market. It was really cool. You go to a market in France, and there was a vendor that would sell poultry. And so not only could you buy a duck breast if that's what you wanted for dinner, but then you could buy the duck carcass as well to go home and make stock. I just think that's so neat. And we don't do that here. You know, you got to buy the whole animal, or it's got to be pretty and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, and you know, they've got the duck livers, and they got the duck hearts and the gizzards and chickens and all those things. Kind of thing. But yeah, you could buy blood there, and I have done it. I have harvested the blood once, and it's difficult to do, and so I don't do it often. This is chicken processing. I don't have any pictures of killing, but for the most part, these ladies, they're part of an adventure group from up north. Rooted Wild is the name of their group. They're on social media, and they tracked me down and they says, "Hey, can you teach 6 of us how to kill chickens?" And it was for every one of them the first time they'd ever killed or taken a life. They've not hunted, they've not fished, they've not anything. And so we went through all the steps with them, and they were just an awful lot of fun to work with. But this is the second step, was scalding. So after the animal's dead, we scald it. Then we spend the most time here in this step, evisceration. And this picture doesn't show up really good, but that's, take home ready chicken. It's pretty well ready. I mean, it's good to go. I do. Yeah, I do, except for turkeys. I haven't found a cone for turkeys that is durable enough. So I've tried big ones, but the turkeys are so powerful. I have a different process that I use for turkeys to kill them. So maybe one day I'll find the right cone. I don't know. The cone, so the cone is designed to contain it. We think of grandma, and maybe you guys did, or your moms and dads did. I mean, we're all in the same ballpark of age, except you. And of going out and chopping off the chicken's head. Yeah, did you? Oh, right on. Yeah, and it's a way. The thing that I'm trying to do is preserve the meat quality, and so by putting it in a cone, it keeps the animal contained and it doesn't break a wing or a leg, and doesn't, because I've seen them where they disjoint themselves, and then you have just a less optimal product for the kitchen.
We actually purchased the beef feather,
Yeah, cool.
and you can throw it in and it takes all the feathers off.
Yeah.
I spent years as a child picking it at the sink.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, so that equipment comes in handy. Yep. So moving along. Okay, so a lot of this stuff we've kind of talked about. Why I do it, I like it. That's why I do it. Not much more to say about that. Control. So it's, for me, I want to, it's very privileged for me to know, to be able to raise my own livestock, and virtually all the meat that we eat at home is stuff that we've raised. That's a privilege, and I recognize that. It's not available to everybody. But if I can, I do. So I still hunt and all the livestock, but I know exactly how the animal was treated. That's more important to me almost than what the animal was fed. How it was treated and how it was processed are probably the two most important things to me. And being in control of that, I like that feeling. I like when I sit down at my dinner table and I'm eating a chicken that I know hasn't left that property, and it's one of my favorite meals. It's really satisfying to do. Quality, it's just, that feeling, or that, for those of us that like tomatoes, I don't eat tomatoes this time of year, because we grow tomatoes, and you eat tomatoes in maybe July, but definitely August and September, October. That's when you eat tomatoes, because they're amazing, right? Well, that same thing exists when it comes to chicken and pork and beef. It can be amazing, but it has to be done right. Now's not the season for tomatoes, for amazing tomatoes anyway. And that's, that same kind of difference in terms of how it tastes, the quality, the texture, all those kinds of things can exist with meat that's well raised. Cost, in many cases. Now, I really want to focus on this bottom line because it's totally counterintuitive. And I got in an argument with a guy one time about it. It absolutely is more expensive, 100%. I do not save one nickel doing it myself. It is more expensive. For me, it's all about the quality and the skill. And it's just the way it is. And now if somebody else's experience is that it's cheaper and it saves them money, awesome. That's not my experience. Every whether it's a chicken, a pig, I can go down to Stokes right now and buy pork way cheaper than I can raise it, but it is not close to the same pork. Chicken, I can buy chicken. What does a chicken cost? Not at Costco, but a regular whole chicken. Is it like $8 maybe, something like that? Okay, I think it cost me $18 to raise a chicken, between 15 and $18. That's the cost of the bird, cost of feed, cost of some supplies, not my time. It's a lot, but the quality's really, really good. Okay, so that's a ribeye. That's a Dexter ribeye steak. That's a Berkshire pork chop, what I call a proper pork chop. And these are some of my chickens. This is what meat, in my view, should look like. And if it doesn't look like that, it could, but it oftentimes doesn't. Because the meat industry is in a real big hurry. They're trying to make money, they're trying to make quota, they're trying to get that meat through that processing facility just as fast as they can and to the distributor as fast as they can. And quality is not the first thing on their mind, most often. And the quality is the first thing on my mind every time. Anybody here garden? Okay, most of us garden. Yeah, I mean, quality is on our mind when we're gardening. And we can taste the difference in the quality of the thing that we've grown, and we take pride in that quality. It's the same kind of thing with meat. It definitely tastes better when you do it yourself. Some of the products that I've made, so over there, that's a summer sausage that's made with elk. That's a kind of traditional summer sausage, meaning that it's been fermented. So it's weird to think about, sauerkraut. There's gotta be some sauerkraut makers in here. Okay, so lacto-fermented. So we do something similar with meat. And so that's fermented. This is fresh sausage that's hung up, and it's got a bloom. And then this is a salami that I just cut into. And these two, the ones on the ends, are fermented meats, meaning that they get that acidy sort of flavor from, or the tart flavor from acid, because we're lowering the pH. And there are certain techniques that we do to do that. but it makes the meat safer. The bad bugs don't like high pH. Bad bugs like high pH. They don't like low pH. So anyway, a couple traditional kind of old world techniques that we do. Okay, move
Do
on.
you smoke meats?
I do. Who asked that? Hi. Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I had my head turned, seeing what I'm doing. So smoking for cooking, yes. Because meat cooked over wood coals or smoked is delicious. But it's also a big flavor element. So most often I try to cold smoke because I like the flavor of that most. And cold smoking is technically smoking anything below, applying smoke under 90 degrees F. But I call it smoking season, and we're just about out of smoking season. So I smoke during the winter. So like my bacon is cold smoked, for example. The summer sausage is cold smoked. I'll do some salamis that are cold smoked because it adds the smoke, the essence of smoke, but doesn't cook it. And then cooking is another thing you do with it.
What's a cold smoke?
Yeah, so use a smoke generator, and there's a bunch of different kinds of it, but it just creates smoke with very little heat or no heat. That's why there's a smoking season for it, because if it's too warm outside, then it's too warm to cold smoke, and then you get the meat in the danger zone because you're not hot enough to cook it, but you're too warm to cold smoke it, to be really cold smoking it. Bad deal. So it's got 90 is the top, but I really set 50 outdoor ambient as kind of my top temperature. So this time of year, if I am cold smoking anything, it's at night. I'll go out about now and start things up, and then first thing in the morning, I'll be out there pulling it and get it in the fridge. Okay. Why does it matter? Why does what I do matter? Or why am I here? So this is, I think this is, meat quality, cheap isn't always best. Big Ag is optimized for cost. We've talked a little bit about that. Animal welfare, again, optimized for cost. Animals, so CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation. That's a whole bunch of animals in a very small space. The reason they do that is it's not what's best for the animal, it's not what's best for the environment, it's not what's best for our health in terms of meat quality. It is the least expensive way to do it. And so, again, it's optimized for the business that's selling it. It's not optimized for those other things. If those other things are important for you, there's ways around it. And then the other thing for me, one of my whys is where are you spending your food dollars? Are you spending them locally in your community, nationally within the United States or the state, or the world economy? And then the next slide speaks a little bit to that. So these are the big four for beef and pork. JBS, it's a Brazilian multinational. They operate in lots of countries throughout the world. Not a judgment. I am not mad at Brazil. I am not mad at Brazilians. I'm not mad at JBS. I'm just calling attention to the fact that the largest meat producer in the United States, meat processor in the United States, is a Brazilian-owned company. We've all heard of Tyson. They're very big. Major ownership for Tyson is China. Cargill and National Beef, both significant players. This group of four process or provide about 90 to 95% of the beef protein available in the United States. There's another big four that do that with chicken, another big four that do that with pork, but it's in the 90% plus range of the big four. So that's why during COVID, we ran into meat supply problems because these guys are running gigantic plants where they're processing. There's a plant in Colorado that processes 35,000 beef a day. 35,000. The beef, the shop that they just opened up in Nephi is 50 beef a day. So big differences in terms of volume. So if you have a handful of people get sick, so whatever the rules are in that plant, they shut the plant down, it disrupts the supply chain. So we had a disrupted supply chain. And that's what happened because because the supply chain's really concentrated. So I do encourage you to pick or find local options. So what are some of the local options? So this is a slide I threw in kind of at the last minute. I don't know if anybody's heard of Temple Grandin. Have you?
There's a movie about
Okay, yeah. I mean, she'd be worth looking up and just understanding a little bit about her life and the impact she's had on the meat supply system. But she's making this point. Big operations are very cost efficient, but they're fragile. Being big is fragile. And I saw that and I thought, man, that really kind of captures for me in a really simple way. Being big is okay, but just let's understand it's a little bit fragile. So next slide. Yeah.
Fragile means we need to be prepared. If it shuts down, what's your next option? Go on.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so so what can you do? So that's kind of the next thing. So backyard chickens for eggs. It sounds like we've got a couple folks in here doing that. Does anybody have egg layers? Okay, the first time in our life it's actually made financial sense, right? This year.
There, my feed actually pays for itself.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, I mean, for 25 years I've been waiting for this is our moment. Sometimes our neighbors sell eggs. Buy the eggs from them. They're maybe another $1 or $2 more expensive because it literally costs more, but maybe support them if you can. Raise rabbits, learn to process them. Rabbits are really prolific. It's really true. Buy meat from local shops. I've listed some here. These are all local shops, locally owned, people that I know. Sometimes like Utah Natural Meats, they're up in West Jordan. You go to their farm and buy stuff. They have a butcher shop at their place. Is it the cheapest place to go buy meat? Absolutely not, but it's local. This is how they feed their family, and it's great quality stuff. Support local growers, CSAs. If you don't know about CSAs, this link is live in the presentation, but community-supported agriculture, most of that's centered around vegetables, but there's a few CSAs that service our area. So if you don't garden, you can support a CSA and go to and buy from farmers markets. I'd love to see the markets like they have in France, but I don't know that I'll ever see that. But one of the tricks is look for barcodes because there's brokers at farmers markets. So if the thing you're going to buy has a barcode on it, that means it may not be from here. It's okay. I mean, we probably shouldn't have watermelons this time of year in Utah. I mean, but we do. I was at my daughter's a week or so ago, and she had her watermelon sitting on her counter, and I was like, okay, don't know where it came from, but not here. But anyway, if you're at the farmer's market and there's a barcode on the thing, it's not, that farmer didn't grow it. 100%, guaranteed. Okay, if you like that farmer, if that's the thing you want to buy, if that's the best peach in the world, have at it. You buy that peach or watermelon or whatever it is you want, but the barcode's the signal, the clue. But yeah, support, I don't know, do you guys have a farmer's market in this town? In Spanish Fort. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
In Salem too.
Okay. Support them because it's good stuff, and sometimes that's how these folks are feeding their family. Expand your skill set. We've talked about this stuff already, and I've listed up there other options besides me. I don't want to be the option. I want to be a option. So YouTube, lots of stuff on there. There's family or neighbors that may have experience processing chickens. Sounds like this lady's done some chickens before. And so, if you guys want to get into the chicken business, I'd be her friend. Or if you want to start processing, maybe you and her, I found a match. I mean, is that okay with you? It may not be okay with you. Okay, but anyway, all kinds of books. If you guys want to know if there's some butchery books that you think might be of use, call me up, text me, say, hey Tom, I want to learn how to do this, and I want to read a book about it first. Great. I'll send you a copy of a book that's on my shelf. And you go to whoever your favorite bookseller is and buy it, or library. Meat independence, boy, this leads right into the next presentation so well. So you can get some meat independence, raising, again, a few redundant points. And then let's go to the next slide. And these are some preservation techniques, which I think is going to be what's next. So I'm going to keep this slide up here and see if there's any other questions. And then I'm going to leave here and go over there. So, Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What about beef jerky? Do you do that? Or
So I absolutely know how to make beef jerky. There's a couple different ways to make it, I've made a lot of beef jerky. I personally do not like beef jerky. I make beef jerky for two reasons. One of them is my wife. She loves beef jerky, so when she says, "Hey, honey," I go make beef jerky for her. And then when I'll teach it as a class, generally a private class, because oftentimes it's folks that have wild game that they want to convert, or they have old meat or meat that's starting to age out a little bit, and we'll make that into jerky.
What's age out?
So freezer burned.
Oh, okay. You can jerky freezer burn?
No, not. I mean, if you can cut it off and get that smell out of it, you can. But if it still smells freezer burned, it's going to be really tough to make it delicious. And so the whole idea behind, if it's going to be in your freezer, you need to keep oxygen off of it. So plastic wrap, the plastic and paper, vac seal bags. I mean, there's a gazillion different ways of preserving it. If your meat starts to age out, and meaning, you've got beef in there, or wild game, or chicken, or turkey, or whatever that's a year old or so, I think USDA is going to be either 6 or 9 months. You can can it. If it still smells good, you can can it and do this. And then I don't know how much longer you buy, or you can freeze dry it, which again, that's not my wheelhouse. It's her wheelhouse. But before it goes bad, before it gets freezer burned, acknowledge it and just say, you know what, that animal died. Let's not waste it. Let's move it along and let's get it so that we put it into a usable form. But there are other options. But yeah, I do know jerky. Yes, ma'am.
what's the shelf life of jerky then?
So I don't make mine shelf stable because I don't add preservatives. So you'd have to add antioxidants like BHA and BHT into it. And I'm not mad at every chemical that goes into meat, but there's a few that I choose not to. So the jerky that I make, I will vac seal and refrigerate. And in that case, I've had it last easily a year. Because it's a low moisture food. But I'd have to go through a lot more testing to say, is it shelf stable? And I know I'd have to add chemicals to it. Good enough? Yeah, another question.
I've never hunted or anything, obviously you have. But
Yeah.
I've heard there's a way that you definitely don't want to cut into an animal or it will contaminate the whole thing. What would that be?
Yeah, so when you're hunting, the shot placement, so so we're talking big game, we're talking like an elk, deer, antelope, something in that group, and time's 8 o'clock. So I am gonna try and answer your question, but then do it kind of quickly, and then also touch a little bit back on the shelf stable part, which will lead into what you're doing a little bit. So shot placement's super important. So the thoracic area of the animal, which is everything in front of the diaphragm, so the last rib, pretty much the last rib forward, and so heart lung is what, as a hunter, we're striving for. And that is what every hunter's goal. If it's not their objective to shoot the animal there, I would question them a little bit and say, what's your motive? It is my goal every time to shoot the animal there. I have not done it every single time. There's environmental conditions, there's adrenaline, sometimes it's windy, and you causes some bullet drift, and there's that kind of stuff. So the reason that you want to shoot in the thoracic area and the heart lungs is two things. It kills the animal fast. If you hit an animal anywhere in the heart or lung, it's gonna die within, it won't go more than 50 yards. The second reason is you don't want to perforate the gut, and that's the problem you're talking about. So if you happen to shoot a gut shot, so that's stomach, intestine, liver, all of that stuff is interconnected, it creates some problems. There are some remedies that you can do to help with that. I've done a few wild game classes. I will just tell you what it is. It's a intervention, and it's acidifying the environment, and it sounds like an old wives' tale, but it's actually USDA. It's 50% vinegar, 50% water. If you had a gut shot animal, finish eviscerating, rinse it out as best you can with water, and then apply that 50-50 vinegar water mix. That acidification helps decontaminate the bad bacteria. But then also during butchering, if I'm butchering, I would, and I knew that happened, I would just steer away from it. I wouldn't, and you can sometimes tell if it's got shot by how it looks when it's on the board. And I dispose of it because it's not good food anymore. The other thing I was going to say about preservation, we talked a little bit about this, is I do have the prosciuttos, we talked about that, is I've got a prosciutto hanging in my shop at room temperature from 2023. And that's really just got salt on it. And so they can become shelf, so I know for prosciutto, I don't know this about jerky, that it will become shelf stable if cured in the right way. So sometimes we'll see hams that are a year old, but there are ways to make things more shelf stable beyond what canning and freeze drying is. I do that with prosciutto, but I don't do it to make it shelf stable for a super long time. I do it because it just adds a lot of flavor, like a old cheese or sometimes aging stuff makes it really delicious, and that's what I'm doing it for. So anyway, it kind of sort of hit on what you were talking about. I'm going to leave some of my cards up here. If you guys never call me, that's fine. If you have questions and you call me, that's fine. If you refer people to me, that's fine. If you want me to do work for you, not fine. Okay. Anyway, thanks. I'm going to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so you butchered your animal. Now what do you do with it? Hopefully you eat it, but you're not going to eat a whole quarter of a cow in one sitting. Hopefully not. So I'm just going to go over these 6 methods. There are several others that I just chose not to because I don't know anything about them. So, in fact, the last one I don't know anything about, but it was so interesting to me. I'm like, I'm putting it on here and I'm going to do it in the next couple of weeks before the canning class so that we can kind of see what it looks like. So one of the easiest ways and least expensive is to pressure cook. It can't be just a water bath canner. It has to be a pressure cooker because it has to get up to temperature. So 240 degrees, which kills all the bacteria. I will tell you, I've canned a lot of things for a lot of years, and meat is the easiest. You just cut it up, throw it in the jar, add a little salt, and put it in the pressure cooker. There's no peeling, there's nothing like that. It's super easy. And then I have a couple of examples. We like fresh caught tuna. And so we go to the Oregon coast every few years, buy a bunch of tuna, and then come home and can it. And it's so good. I won't even buy tuna in the store anymore.
I don't know about that big, but we used to get fingerlings, and the bones will just disintegrate. You don't even have to do bone.
Yeah.
Stick it in there, bone and all, and the pressure cooking will
Yeah.
do away with the
So
bones.
we bought this right off the boat. We put it in some coolers with some dry ice. By the time we got home, it was all completely frozen. We had to defrost it and then just throw it in. It looks absolutely disgusting. Somebody gave it to me because we used to live in Western Washington, and somebody gave me a jar, and she's like, "Oh, it's the best thing ever." And I'm like, "It looks like snot. I don't want to eat that." And one day I was cleaning out my pantry, and I'm like, "Oh, she went to all that effort to can." And I tried it, and I have literally never gone back. I have never bought store-bought tuna again. So there you go. Yeah, it's really good. So this is steelhead. One of our friends was a big fisherman and gave us some fish. You can scale it. It was scaled, but you can take the skin off. Or I was in a hurry. I had little kids at the time, and then I just do my own chicken because I kind of don't like the stuff from the store. Kind of grosses me out. I don't think it has as good of flavor. So this you can put in chicken broth if you want, or you can just throw it in, like I said. And then you don't want to waste anything, so I take all my bones. So this was a turkey it was a Thanksgiving turkey, and I just threw it in a pot for about 3 days with a bunch of herbs and onions and stuff, and canned it up. It makes it really super easy, and it tastes better and doesn't have any junk in it like the store-bought stuff. And it's really not like super hard.
And
So
do you pressure cook that one too, the broth?
yeah, everything.
Everything.
Anything with meat, you have to pressure cook. And so what it does is it removes all the oxygen inside. These seal up. So you want to keep an eye and make sure that they see how it doesn't pop. It's just solid. That means that it's still sealed. If it pops, it means it's come undone. And you either, like, if it comes out and like within 24 hours and it hasn't sealed, you just stick it in the fridge and eat it. But if you find this on the shelf and it's popped, don't eat it, because you don't know how long it's been like that. Freeze drying, like it says up here, it's one of the most expensive ways because a freeze dryer is anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000. I have one and it was a really great investment. I have not regretted it one bit. And the reason I like it is because you do this, it's 25 years. You just instantly have like long-term food storage. So this here, I did beef broth. I didn't want to get out my canner, so I just freeze dried it. I just pour it in the trays, freeze it, stick it in the freeze dryer. I'll pass this around. If you guys want to try it, you can. You can look at it, but just be careful because it's like styrofoam. They tried it earlier.
I really liked it. So I tried it again for the very first time.
And what I do with this is we buy a quarter of a beef from a local butcher, and they'll ask, do you want the soup bones? And I said, yes. And they'll give you extras. For free. They'll just throw them in. You just throw it in a pot with a bunch of water, let it cook on low for about 3 days, and then strain it and either can it or freeze dry. It's not hard. Another thing, what's that?
So do you skim all the fat off after you cooked it?
No, maybe a little bit, but not much. And it was able to freeze dry okay. So another thing is, a couple years ago, my hens decided that they were just gonna go on a marathon egg laying, and I have about 50 dozen eggs freeze dried. I'll send this around.
And you can cook with those.
Oh, yeah.
You can rehydrate them if they're raw.
You can rehydrate them.
But you want to mark them, because if you're not cooked, you want to make sure you cook them. You can't eat them raw, but
Yeah.
you won't know they're
So I do all of mine raw because I did some scrambled and I did not like the texture and the flavor. These you can rehydrate, cook them up, and they taste
just like
fresh. So
fresh egg.
I would recommend not eating this because it's just egg, but you can look and see what it looks like.
Don't taste it.
So it wasn't something, so I didn't feel like I was wasting all my eggs because we just couldn't eat them fast enough. So it's a great way to have eggs. So, and then, at times when my chickens aren't laying, I can go downstairs and grab
I
them. And,
jar them up and give a jar to my kids too, because they're bakers, and then they have it just in case.
Yes.
You run out
and the
of
ratio to rehydrate it is basically like 1 tablespoon to 1 tablespoon of water.
They have it.
So the other thing I had, when I was a dog breeder, I made these really high calorie hamburger patties for my mom, but I made too many. So I thought, they were in my freezer for a long time, and I thought, what in the world am I going to do with those? I can't throw them out. So I freeze dried them, and now my dogs have some really high calorie, high nutrition food that I can feed them just a small amount. And then this was a Costco chicken, just a rotisserie chicken. I just wanted to try it, and it works really great. You're welcome to try it if you want. It's going to
And
be
the
dry as all get out.
best thing with those is you put them in a gallon Ziploc baggie and knead them, and it takes all the meat off the bone.
Yeah.
And then you open it up, pick out the skin, you pick out the bone, and it's all ready for you.
Yeah. So different options with the freeze dryer is you can go in on one with somebody to cut down the cost. You can ask somebody who has one if they would be willing to
Friends.
freeze dry a few things for you. Yeah, friends.
We did a trade.
Yeah.
I had a hunter bring some elk meat over, and we freeze dried his elk meat in return for some elk meat.
Oh, perfect.
That was a good deal.
That would be a good deal. So it's a really great way to keep fresh meat fresh. Oh, I was going to say, this here, I canned sausage. I don't recommend. The sausage, the seasonings in the sausage get way overpowered. I just brought it so you can see. I've done a hamburger, but it's I didn't care for it.
So the seasonings really exaggerate?
Yeah, and now this was just like Jimmy Dean. It wasn't anything like super high quality, but I did not like, I think the sage just got like really strong and I didn't care for it. That's why it's still in the jar. So that was that. You can do hamburger. You can throw it in raw and can it up. I don't love it. I would eat it, but I don't love it because it kind of reminds me of, like school lunches meat, like taco time meat, just kind of, so I don't love it. I don't like the texture, but otherwise it's fine. So it's just texture. So how a freeze dryer works is it lowers the temperature to -50 degrees. That's why it's beneficial to freeze your trays before you put them in, because it just saves a little electricity. And then once it gets to -50, it creates a vacuum around the meat, and then it slowly warms up and it dries all the water out, and then it drains down into a bucket, and then there's ice buildup inside that will drain out. So that's how that works. This is a really great way to do it. I will even do like tater tot casserole and just put that in the trays, freeze dry it, put it in a bag. You can throw some boiling water on it. You could take it hunting, packing, camping, backpacking, that kind of stuff. So it's super easy. And I ended up buying the freeze dryer because I cannot eat a high sodium, like really high sodium food, which is all backpacking food, even the good kind. So I don't really like any of the food that comes in backpacking food. So I invested in a freeze dryer. So
From our experience, we tried doing shredded pork, Kahlua pork to be specific. We did not extract the fat as well as we should have, and that actually did not freeze dry.
yes, freeze dry fat will not freeze dry.
You cannot freeze dry fat. So cut
So
it all out,
Yeah,
especially in
well,
chicken.
I did hamburger and I cooked it ahead of time.
and then rinse it.
in hot water to get the fat off, and then after I drained it. You want to get as much fat out as you can.
So when I first got my freeze dryer, I happened to have a ham. I don't know, it was around Thanksgiving or whatever. So I freeze dried a ham, but I had to cut off like every little piece, and even some of these, in between, I would they're pretty dry, but you just got to be real careful. So I'll pass
Chef
the.
Watch shorter if it's got
Fat.
fat.
Yeah, and FYI,
25 years, you're
don't
probably fine.
don't freeze dry your ham and then put it in a bowl of water, because it washes all the good flavor off it and it just tastes gross.
Just tastes gross.
I think I did, and I just sprayed it.
Yeah.
With the
I
sprayer, and then
I was kind of new at it, so I'm like, oh, just throw in a whole bowl of water, and then I was like, oh, that was gross. So
You did the liquid broth. How high did you fill?
just to the not spillable edge, like just to get it to the freezer. You don't want to go all the way,
Or stick
super
it in
high.
the freezer and pour it in
Yes.
the tray.
Yes, you can set the trays in there and pour it in, but I just like walk through the house and like get the dogs out of the way. So that's all I do. Drying, like dehydrating meat is a common way. A lot of people can do that. You can make jerky. I don't have any jerky and I don't make jerky, so I brought some store jerky.
Oh, cheater.
This is a sample. You can do dried sausages. And then, so you can put the meat in a marinade with spices and then dehydrate it. You can use either a solar or electric dehydrator. You can, if you don't have a dehydrator, you can use your oven, and you can even hang meat in the sunlight. I don't know if I'm that brave. Are you that brave to hang meat in the sunlight?
Yeah, if it's got enough salt on it, it'll be okay.
Okay.
And you can keep bugs off.
Yeah, that would be the hard thing.
So put like a piece of
Cheesecloth over it.
Cheesecloth, okay. So this stuff here, has anybody ever heard of biltong? You probably have. It's like a South African preserved meat, and they use spices. So this is a link to a recipe if you want to try that. I don't know, I wouldn't trust it to be like shelf stable for very long, me personally. And you want to cut the meats into thin strips and remove as much fat as possible, because the fat just, again, doesn't preserve. Smoking, you kind of went over a little bit of smoking.
If she's not in the screen, tell her to move over. I can't see the screen.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
meat smoking doesn't only preserve your meat, but it makes it really, really flavorful. Sorry,
Not that
I
far.
don't like that light shining in my eye.
Just right there.
Anyway, has anybody ever smoked meat? My husband has a smoker. Oh my gosh. When it's
Holy
done
moly.
right, holy
Holy
moly,
cow-
it's
holy
an
moly.
experience. When it's done wrong, he used a recipe. One of his first recipes, it was like paprika, like tons of, like a cup of paprika. It was the most gross thing. Don't do that. But oh, he's done some really, really good ones. We smoked a turkey one year for Thanksgiving. That was to die for. So good. So you start by soaking your wood chips. You can buy apple, cherry, all these different types of chips at the store, Lowe's, whatever. And then you place them in the racks. You put them in the temperature. My husband has an electric one, and so it's hooked to his phone, so it'll tell him like when it's reached temperature and all that kind of stuff. You can do some that are not electric. You have to wait until the meat reaches the right temperature. So for pork and beef, it's 145 degrees. And you can add more wood chips because it takes like all day. It can even 24 hours. I mean, it can take a long time. So you can add more wood chips for flavor and make your neighbors like salivate because it just wafts through the neighborhood. Salting and curing. So you can, it's one of the oldest preservations is salt. That's why salt is so important to have in your food storage. You can cure meat like poultry, fish, beef, pretty much any kind of meat, and it works for both cooked and raw meat. You start by removing as much fat as you can, then rub the salt and the spices and stuff into it. You can use brown sugar to blunt the taste. I did not know that because I've never done this. I'm just teaching you what I learned. And then you cover the meat completely with salt in a container and leave it in the fridge for a week. After this time, rinse the salt off with water and then wrap in cheesecloth and store it in a dry, cool place. Does that sound about right?
About right.
Okay. Anything you'd add?
Yes, but I.
You're not going to step on toes because I've never done this.
Yeah, the magnet. So the peak of palatability on salt is 3%. by
Okay.
weight. So if it were me and I had 1,000-gram piece of meat, I'd weigh it in grams, and then I'd know that I could add up to 30 grams. That's how I do my prosciutto.
Okay.
And so 3% is kind of the max. So rather than just do a salt box, which is that method, I would
Yeah.
weigh it, and then I would just do 3% because that's
Okay.
the most.
So it doesn't
once
get too salty?
That salt's going to fully absorb. Then what happens afterwards is not my wheelhouse. I know what happens with prosciutto, but other than that, everything else makes sense to me.
Okay. So what happens is the salt draws out the water. Salt cured meat can be eaten for 2 to 3 months.
From a preparedness point of view, in olden times, salt was actually used as currency because it was so valuable. So if you were thinking about having an alternative source of barter, consider
Salt.
stocking up with some salt, more than what you would need, because other people are going to need it.
Yep.
Does salt and store indefinitely?
It does.
Yes.
It's like honey.
Yeah. Yep.
It could go and go and go.
And we're lucky. We live in Utah. Redmond Mine is just down the road, a couple of hours. So we're really
Why
lucky
don't
that
we
way.
put it in number 10
Okay, next one.
cans?
Okay, so this is one I learned today. I haven't tried it yet, but I just thought it was so interesting. You can preserve meat with lard. Because, you render lard and stuff and it's shelf stable. So it's a traditional way of preservation. It's practical if you have a lot of fat. Because when you do your pigs, you've got some lard. It's pretty easy. It doesn't require any special equipment. All you need to do is put cooked and salted meat in a sterilized container, like a canning jar.
So you want to cook
Yeah.
here?
And then you cover it with melted lard. The lard stops the air from getting to the meat, which also means bacteria can't grow without oxygen. Keep meat covered in lard in a cool, dry place, so your basement or whatever, wherever you would put this kind of stuff, and keep it out of a hot location. And you can do, I think apparently you can do other, like tallow, but lamb and sheep fat can change the flavor of your meat. So
So where would you get lard?
you can go to the butchers, the local butchers, and you can buy it.
So I know Circle V sells lard. Most grocery stores do sell lard. Springville Meat does sell lard.
Mexican grocery stores
So, correct, yeah, because it's used as an ingredient in
and tortillas.
Yeah. And when I got my quarter of beef from Lazy J, he asked if I wanted any tallow, and he just gave me this big, huge chunk that I can still sitting in my freezer, but I can render it down, and he just gave it to me. So I have personally had Circle V meat and Lazy J meat, and they're both really good. I went over to Circle V to buy, it was around COVID when stuff was happening, and I just wanted to get some stocked up, and I really wanted to start getting more local because I noticed the meat quality has just gone down over the last 10 years or so, probably because it's 4 companies doing everything. And I don't know if you guys know this, but foreign companies can send their cows, their whole cows here, they process it here, they can label it as made in the USA. Because our government's always trying to get around crap. So I'm always trying to think local, buy local, try them out. I haven't done any pig yet because we don't eat a ton of pork, and I can never find a butcher that makes sausage the way I like it. So that's just me.
I got a question about smoking. Is the idea of smoking to do it slow?
Yes,
in a
very
longer
slow.
period of time, you just can't do a quickie smoke?
No,
No
it's a couple day process that you kind of have because you have to brine it and soak, that kind of stuff. So
But the
it's
actual, you apply the heat and the smoke over a 5-6 hour period,
more like 12.
12?
Yeah.
so just keep
Depending, it depends on
You
the
gotta keep
meat
it-
and depends on
You
yeah.
have to keep it hot, can't let the flame go out.
No.
And once it reaches 145, you're done?
Right, you just,
Depending on the meat. A lot of like if you look up the recipes for smoked meat, it'll tell you what temperature that particular recipe and the meat needs to be at. So, but it's really good. I'll just tell you this one story. I was buying, the really expensive sirloin hamburger patties from Costco. They're like super expensive because my son's kind of a big meat eater, and he was eating those for lunches. And I went to Circle V to try and get some different patties. I got their patties, and I ended up throwing out that meat because it tasted so disgusting compared to what I got from Circle V. So nobody would eat them. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna cook them up for the dogs or something.
Is there any place around here where you can buy smoked trout? I mean, I can't find it in the grocery store like that.
oh,
I don't know. You might call some of the.
I don't know of any smokehouses. I don't know of any in the county.
Yeah.
Well, you would know if
Well,
they were there.
yeah, I mean, I'm a little plugged in, so I don't know. I don't think so.
Maybe try Facebook Marketplace.
Google.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So that is preserving with lard. I'm going to try it. The canning class is on May 7th
go ahead, pitch it.
at my house, and we
7th.
will be doing probably chicken and beans that night, so you can learn how to do those. Those are the 2 easiest things to can because you just throw them in. I quit canning like peaches and pears because they're too much work.
So on the beans, you cook them before? Or, you just put them in and.
Okay, so I only really do white, like navy beans and black beans because we don't like pinto beans and red beans because of
Well,
those.
you should be able to do it the same way.
Yes, I would maybe, so my sister-in-law does a lot of beans. So her pinto beans, she soaks them overnight, but doesn't cook them
Oh,
to just release some of that gas. So we'll be doing that at my house on May 7th, and hopefully we have good weather. Yeah, it's not our regular monthly meeting. It's the one that,
Morning thing?
no, it's going to be from 6 to 8 in the evening.
Keep an eye out for text messages or emails with notifications of it.
So I noticed today on the website that like it said that the sign up was closed. I must have just put the wrong date in, so I'll go fix that. Because we are kind of limited. I can't have like 75 people in my house. my dogs will go crazy. So
Is it a free class or are you charging?
it will be free, but if you want to take something home, I'll just charge for whatever the meat in the jar. If you
Okay.
don't want to take something home, don't really care, you just want to learn, then yeah, it's free. I just haven't figured that out yet. Been a wee bit busy. So I think that was it. Is that the last one? Yep, that's the last one. So
That's one.
lots of good ways to preserve.
Okay,
Yeah, this-
we've got just a few minutes. I wanted to mention that if any of you guys are interested in participating in a specific butchering class where you get to get hands-on, then we'll put together a sign-up. So if we can get, 4 students?
Depends on the class and what folks are interested in.
So I'll get with Tom and we'll figure out what options are available in case you want to do that. And I'll make that available through texting and emails. Yes, question back.
Maybe doing a class because a lot of people are doing home chicken farms to do a chicken.
So
I get a lot.
Fair- a perfect leadway is that in Woodland Hills, everybody here's got an acre or more. You have the capability of growing a lot of your own food storage live. Chickens, rabbits, goats, sheep, turkeys are allowed. Pigs are not. So they're not over there as well. But you can actually grow a cow. Now they do make those little mini cows, which I'm not sure about those, but those are options that if you get into that habit of growing your own meat and processing your own meat, then you've actually just cut down on the amount of food storage you need to set aside for your family. And so it's a big cost savings to a point. And then I'm hoping that some of us will actually grow more than what our family needs and will be a resource for some of our unprepared neighbors. Because how many of you guys think all of your neighbors are prepared or even a little bit prepared? There's a lot of them that are not. And we just need to be cognizant because we don't want to have to turn people away. But sometimes, depending upon the situation, how long it's going to last, what type of disaster it is, will affect our decisions on what we can and cannot do, because family comes first, and then your friends and family, or your friends after that, and neighbors. But let's try and help out and get as many of our neighbors as prepared as we can. And I know your side of the city is doing really well. Our side in Maple Canyon Ward not doing so good. So, but at least we have a few people from our ward on this area. So we're trying to get more people on board. And like I said, the best way you can do that is just kind of talk it up with your friends. If you can hand out one of these, it's kind of like a simple explanation letter of what our purpose is as a nonprofit. And then have them sign in with the Be Ready text message. That way they can get notifications of when classes come up, because maybe something will catch their fancy. You know, we'll have a soap class coming pretty soon, you know, how to make your own soap or candles. What other kind of classes would we want to focus on? I mean, there's lots of things, skills that we have lost over the last 100 years that we need to resurrect and build. Yes, Maria?
Tim's going to be doing a more hands-on class for the herbs, so doing the tinctures and stuff like that.
How to make your own tinctures. She's also going to do a class on how to recognize existing medicinal and edible plants on our hill. You know, there's some weeds in my yard that I kill every year. They're not, yeah, they're like superfoods or super healthy, and yeah, I kill it.
I'm
So
not poisoning my dandelions this year.
there you go. Yes.
We just really want to thank you and Maria for all your hard work. We really appreciate
Oh.
it so much.
Well, thank you guys thank you for supporting us. And anybody else who wants to volunteer to put on a class? Come on. You don't have to know anything specific today. Ask Ken. Ken said, I don't know anything. So Ken took a topic. What was the topic, Ken?
It's
Rainwater collection. And he built his own rainwater collection system, and then he taught us how to do that ourselves.
And I'm watering my garden with it now. That's cool.
So find a skill or an interest. Yeah, an interest is a good start. Learn about it, and then come up to me and let us know when you can teach it, because that's the best way for you to learn it, is for you to teach others. And then we'll find out together what you did wrong. So that's okay. We all know we're all learning, and there's things for us to benefit from each other. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. If anybody wants to buy anything like this, just come see me afterwards. Otherwise, we'll start packing it up, and we'll take it to the trade show this Friday.